Zena Josephs, and you have time donated by Kay Arnold. Are you here, Ms. Arnold? Thank you. After you, Zena, if you may allow me, we'll have David Morris, who's having donated time, and Olga Zarowska. Okay.
Thank you. Staff is proposing that you extend the current 4-year Human Services grants for 2 more years. Speaking only for myself, I oppose this extension unless the city insists on improved performance by OPCC. OPCC was cited in a recent LASA monitoring review for unmet performance targets. It seems to have violated clients' civil rights according to testimony before the LA County Board of Supervisors. It's been sued by employees who allege sexual harassment, racial discrimination, and uninhabitable shelter conditions, and it apparently does not comply with ADA requirements. According to the Human Services Grant Program, the city is supposed to monitor agencies that received grants for, quote, program and administrative performance, end quote. And according to the Social Services Commission website, they're supposed to prepare an annual assessment for the city council, but they haven't done so for the last 5 years. OPCC is receiving $1.6 million from the city again this year. The Annenberg Access Center has the goal of permanent housing placement. My own experience with OPC has been as follows. Last summer, I went to a meeting at the San Michelle tent for a meeting of the staff and David Morris as his community advocate. When I arrived, a staff member told David she'd sent him an email an hour before canceling the meeting. No reason was given. At a later meeting I attended with David and OPC staff, they were very reluctant to apply for a Santa Monica Section 8 voucher for him, trying to convince him to apply instead to an organization called Brilliant Corners. When I asked where he might end up with Brilliant Corners, they suggested Baldwin Hills. David needs surgery here in Santa Monica. Third, in November 2018, I was invited to a meeting with OPCC staff and Jonathan Chavez, a young wheelchair-bound man who attended local schools, has been homeless for 3 years and lives in his car. He had also invited a staff member from the Disability Community Resource Center. OPC staff members refused to meet with him if he brought 2 advocates. An email a few days later from their staff said that he could bring 2 advocates to a future meeting if they promised not to speak. Fourth, OPCC set up a meeting last week for David and staff from Brilliant Corners, which could supply a rent subsidy for him if OPCC identifies a suitable apartment. He brought a packet with certification of disabling condition, a letter about pain management, a letter from his neurological spine surgeon, a letter from an orthopedic surgeon recommending treatment as quickly as possible. This was dated May 2017. The OPCC housing caseworker for David was not familiar with CCSM. When I asked the assistant director how many clients they had placed in permanent housing in Santa Monica in the last 2 years, she couldn't tell me. This is how OPCC has failed David after 2 years of living in their tent where he slipped on the wet concrete floor and burst a vertebrae 22 months ago. Where is the permanent housing placement for David that they are being paid to provide? I have a note from Kay, who donated time. OPC staff wants me to sign a form that says I'm seriously mentally ill, a substance abuser, and or have AIDS, but none of that applies to me. Now they're trying to terminate me from shelter because I won't sign that form. I oppose giving this organization funding for 2 more years unless you insist that they improve their performance. This is absurd, and it's immoral. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph. We have David Morris, who has donated time from Jeffrey Davis. Are you here, Mr. Davis? Thank you.
I find it inconceivable that the Santa Monica City Council is about to extend the funding to OPCC DBA, the people concerned, without having addressed the serious failures of this organization. These failures include client warehousing, neglectful care towards the seniors, the handicapped, and the mentally ill clients, as well as the civil rights violations, including those at San Michelle, which is a transitional housing facility on city property. The city is failing its citizenry by not addressing these issues, but instead handing out more money to the organization to enable it to continue this corruption and these abuses. I'm a disabled senior who has been warehoused by OPCC for 2 years now in ungodly conditions without proper case management or permanent housing in sight. I've been in excruciating pain for 22 months after suffering a fall on the facility premises. I'm being kept hostage by OPCC for the funding that they can collect for my bed. Who in their right mind would believe that it takes a professional social service organization 2 years to house a severely injured senior with a shattered spine? In the 2 years I've been a client at San Michel's respite bed program, I've been directly associated with 5 clients who died due to OPCC's neglect and failure to follow through with the social services they needed. One of these clients, Richard Segura, was a senior citizen and a lifelong Santa Monican who testified along with other OPCC clients before the County Board of Supervisors last May. Richard passed away recently after OPCC refused to house him and failed to refer him to another organization. For the last 20 years or so, OPCC DBA, the People Concerned, has been run by Executive Director John Masseri, who holds the reins of the organization's broken and corrupt system. OPCC's true business plan is to enrich itself through public funding and private donations at the cost of the homeless clients' health and safety, while providing the minimum amount of services, most of them on paper only. OPCC's PR machine is unleashed each time complaints are voiced. The clients who speak out are intimidated or slandered by OPCC in order to keep up the appearances of a proper social service agency and to assure continued funding. This must end. The city may no longer disperse public funding to this dishonest organization without any checks and balances. Action must be taken by the city right away to protect the citizens currently in the clutches of OPCC. We cannot allow for any more client deaths due to neglect. The city needs to install a Citizens Oversight Committee to oversee all social services programs in Santa Monica so that the social services system can be transparent through effective oversight and the needs of the citizens can be met. Currently, there is no oversight mechanism whatsoever, and the Santa Monica Social Services Commission in particular has failed to provide the required annual assessments of the social services for at least the past 5 years. The assessment to be performed by the city contracted firm of Canavan and Associates over the next 3 years will not meet the immediate need for action in regards to the current egregious problems at OPCC, DBA, the People Concerned, which must be solved without further delay. So one thing I wanted to add is I spoke before you guys eight months ago, and my case hasn't advanced 1 inch. So I just thought I'd throw that in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We now have Olga Zarowska, who has time donated by Judy Casey. Are you here, Ms. Casey? Thank you.
The city may not, in good faith, extend a human services grant for another 2 years for OPCC doing business as the People Concerned. Doing so despite the many serious problems with the organization that have been reported to the city over the past 2 years would make the city complicit in enabling the abuses of vulnerable clients OPCC has been engaging in. Providing more funding to this questionable nonprofit would be a violation of the city's fiduciary duty to the citizens and a violation of the city's code of ethics, which is based on the principles of fairness, transparency, accountability, and integrity. The year is 2019, and no contemporary city in the United States of America should consider disbursing public funding to an organization that is widely known to warehouse homeless clients in substandard conditions without proper case management while intimidating the clients and violating their civil rights, for example, through elder neglect, discrimination of individuals with disabilities, and sexual harassment. The city has been presented with the alarming 2017 LASA monitoring review of OPCC, which found unmet performance targets, non-compliance with contract provisions, insufficient documentation of reported outcomes, failure to follow internal controls, and failure to utilize program funds in accordance with the contract budget. The city has been presented with a copy of the lawsuit filed by former The People Concerned employees in July 2018. Here is one sentence from the lawsuit. Quote, defendants created and maintain a lawless, unhealthy, and dangerous environment for both the homeless people they serve and for frontline dedicated employees such as the plaintiffs who were harassed, retaliated against, and ultimately discharged for standing up for the right to a workplace free from health hazards and harassment based on race and sex. End quote. Finally, the city of Santa Monica has been presented with the video testimony of multiple OPCC clients before the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors in May of 2018. The 9-minute video, entitled Measure H Atrocities, is available on YouTube. How come, after receiving all the above information and 2 consumer complaints filed with the Santa Monica City Attorney regarding the people concerned, the supposedly progressive City of Santa Monica will now be extending public funding to the people concerned for another 2 years? It appears that there is a concerted effort by the city, including several of the city commissions and especially the Santa Monica Social Services Commission, to engage in a conspiracy of silence that harms the vulnerable and housed citizens but benefits the people concerned and their executive director, Mr. John Masseri. This is incomprehensible. This can only be understood as corruption and willful disregard for the city's fiduciary duty to the citizens. The city contracting with Kenneth & Associates for a 3-year evaluation of its social services programs may improve the quality of the programs in the long run. However, immediate action is required by the city to protect the vulnerable clients who are currently in the clutches of the people concerned and Mr. Masseri. Mr. Masseri's resume, as submitted to the city with a request for funding, shows no educational background in social services. Apparently, Mr. Masseri possesses a BA in biology, and he enjoyed a successful career as an office supply salesman before abruptly venturing into the world of social service organizations. I think Mr. Masseri's resume might be an explanation for the glaring deficiencies of the people concerned. Taxpayer dollars should never pay for such glaring deficiencies. Immediate safeguards must be put in place by the city against the incompetent and dangerous the people concerned to protect the vulnerable and housed citizens the organization is contracted to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Gina DeBaca and Ellen Hannon.
Good evening. I'm Gina DeBaca. Please do not extend the Human Resources Grant to OPCC for 2 more years. We need more oversight, transparency, and we need it now. I have referred countless Santa Monica residents to OPCC. They were all turned away. When my own family was in need and we were about to be homeless and then eventually became homeless, OPCC did not help me nor my children. Again, I urge you not to extend the OPCC grant for 2 more years. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Ellen Hannon.
Hello again. I'm Ellen Hannon. As many of you know, I'm a registered nurse and a public health nurse. I've been asked to read the statement that was made by Richard Segura, the late Richard Segura, in public comment at the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors meeting 5/15/18. His words: I oppose the dispersion of public funding to OPCC, the people's concerned. I am a wheel-bound senior and a lifelong resident of Santa Monica who almost died due to the incompetence and negligence of the staff of OPCC. I was a client of their respite bed program, which in reality warehouses ill homeless people without any attendant care while collecting public funding. The respite program sent me to the Venice Clinic doctor who gave me medication over my protest that it was the wrong and unnecessary medication for me. I took it once and felt very sick. I could not breathe. The OPCC nurse said I should take it again. I wanted to comply and not jeopardize my housing process. After the second time I took the medication, I got even sicker. My body broke out in blotches. I was in pain and couldn't move. I spent 4 days in bed, missing the meals and laying in my own feces and urine. During those 4 days, no staff attended to me. I decided to go to the emergency room, where I was immediately admitted to the hospital for about 3 weeks. Once my health stabilized, I was released back to OPCC respite program, only for my health to deteriorate within days to the point where I was readmitted to the hospital. The doctor told me had I waited another couple of days before coming back, I would have died. While I was in the hospital, my valuable personal belongings were left unsecured by OPCC staff, and it appears they were stolen. He was nearing the stay at the skilled nursing home and rehabilitation center. I learned that OPCC had not been working on my permanent housing. This
Thank you,
man was
Ms. Hanna.
readmitted to the hospital, and he has since died. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, we have a request, one request that came in late to speak.
Moved here for 1 minute.
Any objections? Hearing no objections, we'll hear for 1 minute from Denise Neal.
Good evening, council members. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, council members. My name is Denise Neal. I am a former disabilities commissioner here, but that seat came at a very high price for me. My son and I, and even my two younger children, had been homeless in Santa Monica since 2002, and OPCC, now the people concerned, refused to serve us properly. They denied us vouchers during that entire duration of time. And once I ended up in a respite bed right before I decided to apply for the commission seat, I was given an ultimatum right before I was to receive a voucher. I was told, you keep the bed or you lose the bed if you take the seat. Because I saw a poster on the wall saying that we encourage civic involvement, I told them that I would like to make a difference and maybe earn some points. And they put me out on the street, and I served my partial term homeless. So do not fund them.
Thank you very much. Council, that concludes the public testimony.